So what I want to do is just talk to you a little bit about what Disability Voices United is up to. We have a lot of huge news for you for 2021. We're sharing one piece of that news today, and that is that we're doing a statewide virtual conference April 16th through 18th. And that is going to be available to everybody who wants to participate. What I'd like to do is to spend some time today during this call to make sure that we're meeting your needs at the conference and getting you the information you need. This will be the fourth self-determination conference that I have planned since the law was passed. The law was passed in 2013. We did a conference in 2014, a conference in 2015, and a conference in 2019. And now it'll be our conference in 2021. And so it is a really great way. We usually have over 500 people in person at these conferences, and it's really a great way for people to meet each other, to network. And of course, during the time of COVID, that is just not going to be possible. And and we don't really think there's going to be in-person conferences again until probably the fall at the earliest. And so because of that, because of the statewide rollout of the self-determination program on June 7th, it is important to us to get prepared for that. And so we're doing it virtually. We're using this super cool platform called Socio. And Socio gives the opportunity for people to be able to network in ways that is really unusual and that on an online platform. So for example, one of you may say, oh, I am the mom of a small child, of somebody, a 7-year-old, and I would really like to network with other parents whose children will be in self-determination who are young. And you can literally click a button and say, anybody who's a parent of a young kid, we're meeting up in this little room at noon. And you can do those kinds of things. You can create your own networking. But there will also be there will be some amazing speakers, amazing panelists. And we're going to have a virtual expo, and you'll have an opportunity to meet our sponsors of our conference. We already have 3 great sponsors. Our sponsorships are related to the 5 principles of self-determination. Actually, there's only 4 levels, so we're missing the confirmation principle, but we'll come up with something for that. But our top sponsor so far is GT Independence. Woohoo! We're so happy because they're making it possible for us to do all these cool things and to have Spanish interpretation at every session, as well as provide scholarships for those people who may not be able to get their regional center to pay for it if they're not yet in the self-determination program. We're also going to have an expo. We also have 2 other sponsors as well. ARCC, the FMS, is a sponsor, as well as a really wonderful behavioral agency. So you're also going to have a chance to meet independent facilitators, service providers who will be part of an expo, who will, you'll have set times during the conference where you'll be able to meet with them. You can either set up a separate appointment for them through the platform, or they may just be there and you can just pop in and out anytime you want. The other big piece of it is going to be actually the core program. The conference, by the way, is only going to be half days. So it'll run roughly 10 a.m. or 9:30 a.m. To about 1 or 1:30 every day, with actual programming with some breaks in between. And then we'll have every day at the end of each session, we'll have an hour where the sponsors and the exhibitors at the expo will just be available if people just want to pop in to different rooms or different booths, like virtual booths, and be able to meet with the different providers. And it'll be a great way to meet potential people who can do lots of things for you in the self-determination program. We anticipate, I mean, we usually get 500 people to our in-person conferences, which is pretty amazing because people fly from all over the state into LA, which is where we have our conferences, because I live in LA, so that's where our conferences are. But this time we're anticipating about 1,000 people at the conference because nobody needs to go anywhere. The conference, just because I know people are going to ask, it will be vendored with the regional center. Actually, on my other screen, you can't see it, is the vendorship papers that we're working through Harbor Regional Center to get, because our offices, even though they're not even being used right now, are based in Manhattan Beach. And so we will be using Harbor Regional Center as our vendorship. And so you are allowed to register for the conference without, and we know we don't have it vendored yet. It's okay. We are confident we will, and you don't have to pay. You can just say, you just need to give us the name of your service coordinator. For those of you, the cost, by the way, is $50 for self-advocates and family members. For the $50, you not only get access to the conference, but you also are going to get in the mail a beautiful conference t-shirt, as well as a copy of an updated edition of the Think Outside the Box, which we will be updating right before the conference. And we will be putting that in the mail to everybody as registrations come in. And so it's $50 for self-advocates and family members, and it is $75 for everybody else. So professionals, advocates, people from other kinds of agencies. Also, obviously, if you're in the self-determination program, you can put it in your spending plan, and you can, we can just send an invoice to your FMS. It's not going to be a problem. All right, so before this is a time that I really want to talk to all of you, and I want to hear from all of you what it would be helpful for you to learn. We have started putting together a bit of the conference, asking some of the keynote speakers already, but we are going to have breakout sessions. The basic outline is going to be keynote speakers or full panels first, and then we're going to go into breakout sessions and have a break and maybe another big full panel or another set of breakout sessions. So there's going to be lots of opportunities to learn. Because we're expecting about 1,000 people as our guests, we're going to have a hell of a lot of breakout sessions, because what I don't want to have happen is have a breakout session with 500 people in it. That's going to make it very, very difficult for you to really learn together. And so we're going to be pulling together a lot of different breakout sessions. I have, to be honest, I have been spending a huge amount of my time fighting for getting the vaccines for people with disabilities, and it has waylaid me away from, it is not something I anticipated having to spend time on, because we thought we were going to be getting the vaccine next, and apparently now we're not. So I am a bit behind, I must admit, in the planning. And so as we were thinking about what should we talk about at SDP Connect, I'm like, let's make you guys plan the conference. This is exactly what self-determination is anyway. We're not here to tell you about what you need to learn. You're here to tell us what you would like to hear. And so we're going to make this a person-centered conference, a participant-centered conference. And I want to hear from you what you want to hear, what you want to learn. The other sort of big thing that we're thinking about is that we're going to have 3 different tracks running through the breakout sessions. We're going to have beginner, intermediate, and advanced. I know for sure that there's going to be a whole bunch of folks coming to this conference who know very little about the self-determination program, except that they want to give it a try. They want to try to make it happen for them or their son or daughter or their family member. And so we need to start with the basics, and people can choose from among several basic kinds of ideas. The other, the intermediate will be for a lot of you, those of you who come on to our SDP Connects every week. A lot of you are advanced, but most of you I'm going to put in the intermediate category. So that's where we'll really dig deeper into how do you argue for unmet need? How do you get, how do you create a spending plan in more detail? Maybe some special features of, looking at employment in a more detailed way, looking at supported housing in a detailed way. So that's going to be intermediate. We're then going to have an advanced set of breakout sessions. And I see those as people, a lot of you could really do these advanced ones. These are the really detailed pieces, like, how do we get through the fact that when people want to change their spending plans mid-year, that we have these barriers to do that, and to really work through some of those issues and try to make the process more seamless. Maybe looking at how do you start a business with the self-determination program. So just kind of the more advanced phase, as opposed to just kind of like having kind of the basic stuff going in. So I am now going to really open it up to anybody who has some ideas that you may be interested in hearing about. I've got my little pad out here. I'm going to be writing all of this down. And I really want to hear from you. So the way that you can speak, in case you don't know, is that you can, that what you can do is you can go down to reactions. That's where hand raise is now. There's raise hand and reactions, and you can lower your hand. It's frustrating because I don't consider raising hand a reaction, but that is what Zoom did. So if you are interested in speaking or giving some ideas, if you've been having any problems with your self-determination program, that might actually give us some great ideas of what the conference could cover. So who wants to start? I see Carla Lehman is like texting me in the chat. And so she should, you have a really good idea. So why don't you say it to everybody if you're in a position?
Hi. I was just thinking if we could have an advanced class on fair hearings for self-determination. That's my idea. I feel that we need to learn more about that.
Yeah.
What happens when they deny us services or things like that.
Great.
And I know that you mentioned many times that judges might not be also very educated in self-determination. So how can we educate them if we go to fair hearing?
Yeah. So. I was just talking about that issue with Disability Rights California the other day, because they are really, they are statutorily required to be training periodically on various issues with the administrative law judges with DDS. And so I'm really hoping that they're going to be doing these kinds of trainings in the near future. I think that will be very, very helpful. Okay, I got those ideas. Great ideas. What else do people need to learn, want to learn? I see Melissa Jones put in choosing an FMS, choosing an independent facilitator, traditional services versus self-determination, and what is a PCP? All great ideas. I got that down. Tommy. Hi, Tommy.
Hi. I think what happens is sometimes, you feel like you understand self-determination, but then you start to think about a nitty-gritty.
Right.
Maybe have a nitty-gritty breakout. One of the nitty-gritties that I'm thinking about is, let's say you're working with a vendored service, let's say adaptive skills program, it's an agency you're happy with, and then you're transitioning to self-determination because of course you want to expand outside the boxes, but maybe you want to keep some of that service in place. So how does that, I think there's so many questions I have about that. Like, does the agency, does that do you start to negotiate rates with them? Do they stay with their, how does all of that happen? And do they still need to write reports to the regional center like they used to? Like all those sorts of things I think is so. So also if you could do that for agencies that I imagine have no idea what they're going to be doing, would be really great.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I was actually just talking about that issue today, that we have not done a great job of recruiting traditional service providers to provide services through the SDP. And I love that. I love that idea. Great. Okay. Now I have decided, instead of writing in my trusty notebook, I'm actually typing it up, which is going to make it much easier for me. The next person is Christina. My second time seeing you today.
Hi, Judy. Thank you. One thing I would suggest is for people who aren't sure about self-determination, what are the benefits? Why would they want to be part of it? I find myself explaining a lot to a lot of community in our community, and they, are not sure it's for them. But I would love to see a section for people who are still on the fence, and why leaving their traditional program would be better for them, being in self-determination, and maybe hearing from self-advocates as well as to what has happened to them since they've been in the program.
Great. Love it. Got it. All right, next person, Elizabeth Cuevas.
Hi, sorry, I couldn't find my mute button. My unmute button. I really liked, I went to the last two conferences, and I really liked when you had the sort of live in person, well, we can't do in person, but the live PCP reunion, like in live happening. That was very informative for everyone. See like what kind of questions, exactly what, it was great. I think doing something like that for the PCP, even doing something like that for even like a mock meeting with an SC for budget negotiations, and a mock meeting with the facilitator on how do we come up with the budget and a spending plan, things like that. So I think people need an example, of each of those processes, and maybe like an easy checklist of this is step 1, step 2, step 3.
We have that. That's in our lovely book. In case you didn't have it, we have, look, it's actually called a checklist. So this is the checklist to create your individual budget. We have a checklist to get your services and spending plans. So, and we actually have at the beginning of it, a step-by-step, I actually did an SDP Connect on this, actually. It's a step-by-step flow chart where you see that you've got the individual budget and create person-centered planner really happening at the same time instead of one before the other.
Is it okay that we make copies and use all of this?
Yeah, so, I mean, these are in the book. And so that, I mean, we make tiny little bits of money on the book, not a lot. So we appreciate people using the book, but you will all get a copy of the book at the for the conference. So you'll all have that. And it's actually there. It's a workbook. So you're there to like write on it and take notes on it.
Perfect.
Okay. And we have it what we do have that we can get you right away is we have the Spanish version of it.
I was just going to ask, do you have the Spanish version?
So the entire book is not in Spanish because you'll see it's a large book and a lot of the pieces of it we did not write. So we did not feel it was appropriate for us to translate pieces that we didn't write. However, anything that was written that has been developed by DDS has already been translated. And so we have those pieces. And that chart that I showed you in the checklist, we translated because we wrote that ourselves. So anything that is original material, we have translated. So we have a whole packet that I can get you. Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely. The Spanish is not directly in the book. The Spanish is a separate document that, that's a really good idea, is that we should ask people if they want this, because we could get the Spanish part printed and throw it in there. Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure that.
Hi, Judy.
Hey, Todd, how are you?
Listen, I signed up for the conference in April yesterday, so I already got my thing done, the Regional Center's paying for my thing.
All right, wonderful. That's really great. All right, fantastic. Evelyn Rodriguez.
What are we working for?
Hola Judy, ¿cómo estás? Buenas tardes a todos. Yo fui a la conferencia hace 2 años y me gustó mucho la parte recreacional, pues cómo recreaban un PCP ahí en vivo. Esa sería mi sugerencia. Para que la comunidad, sobre todo la comunidad latina, se dé cuenta que no es una celebración del sueño, de la vida, ¿no? De nuestro hijo, que no tengan miedo, es algo muy informal, muy tranquilo, muy amable y no es una reunión formal ni nada que temer, ¿no? Me gustó mucho esa parte. También algo sobre la compra de equipos, ¿no? Como lo que estoy teniendo ahorita yo el problema con mi centro regional y las metas, ¿no? De repente no hacer unas metas de una línea en el PCP, de repente hacer unas metas más con más objetivos y más específicas. Eso es lo que están pidiendo ahorita los centros regionales, ¿no? Gracias.
Great. Thank you for that. Those are excellent ideas. The next person is Jan. Hi, Jan.
Hi. Hi. Well, the spending plan changes is a good one.
Okay.
Had to redo my entire spending plan with justification on our changes.
Mm-hmm.
So they did not go the entire budget amount. They went category amount. And DDS backed them up. Just thought I'd let you know. I think another thing we've been talking a lot about is how to find service providers once you're in self-determination and how to make a contact list, or I don't know, brainstorming ideas for that might be nice. A lot of
contact list for providers
that aren't agencies, or you know what I mean? Because I think that's where a lot of families are afraid, you know, to do self-determination. How am I going to find someone? Are you going to find him for me?
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, you know, we're not going to do this because I don't believe in lists, but I've heard that, and I know that there was an attempt at it at one point, but somebody really needs to create like a Yelp type product for the self-determination program where people are like, oh man, I need a soccer coach. Let me look to see if anybody recommends a soccer coach in my area. Somebody really needs to develop this. It ain't going to be DVU because we're an advocacy organization, but that is something that really needs to happen. I know there's a few out there that kind of exist like this. So hopefully it'll happen soon.
okay. And then
Great.
I think families that are working with kids under 18 seems to be a little more challenging trying to help those families. So maybe a little more on that. For me, it would be helpful.
Wait, could you say that again? I'm sorry, I was typing up the last one. Say that again. Jan.
For working with clients under 18, families, it's a little more challenging to try to come up with how to help them because I feel like I need to fix their whole world and that's not going to happen. So focus on just self-determination.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, maybe a little, you know, making sure we have the different age groups.
Yeah, I know a lot of independent facilitators working with adults who feel like they're needing to fix the whole world too. So that is not an uncommon theme that I'm hearing about. Thanks, Jan. I'm adding, there are certain people who've been on a lot of our calls who I feel have really gained expertise, and I'm actually adding you to the list of people I'm going to ask to speak at one of these panels. That's why you should maybe never volunteer. Carolyn, how are you?
I'm doing great. Good to see you. I just thought one of the things I would like to share with people, but also get information from them, ideas from them, is all the great things we're doing in self-determination with our extra staff in the home. You know, like we've got a master gardener and we just built raised beds. They're going to grow their own garden, you know, with flowers and vegetables. So what are the other things? We're doing a lot of that kind of stuff while we're not in a day program anymore. So maybe ideas of how other people are doing things. Okay.
I love that idea because that COVID ain't going away anytime soon, people.
Exactly.
You should know. You work in the hospital.
And she'll never go back to a day program. Thank you. Because of self-determination.
Yeah. Wonderful, thank you. Okay, who's next? Mariko, how are you?
Hi, Judy.
Good to see you.
You.
Wait, I just need to say that I really missed going to your Christmas party this year. You guys should know that Mariko and the folks at the Japanese speaking parents group put on the most incredible Christmas party you have ever been to in your life. So sad. My son was asking about it. I told him hopefully next year we'll have it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Hopefully this year. Yes, Judy. I have been thinking about the community of color, especially the Asian community, Asian families.
Mhm.
And I would appreciate if you could think about, the interpreters, make them available, the multi, language.
Yeah.
Because of the online, conference. So as you know, not only English, but of course Spanish and any other languages, if you make the interpreter available online in a different room, and that would be great. However, I understand that it's a funding problem and sponsorship. And then when you have a breakout room, it may be a little difficult and technically. And in the past, DRC, Disability Rights California, provided Asian families with multi-language interpreters. And it was a couple of times of conference or webinar, and it was a big success. So they have technical maybe support, or I think I'm not good at technology, but because of this, 1,000 people can come in this conference, I want to invite many the Asian families as well as other language families, so that they can learn about self-determination program. So that's what I wanted to ask you.
I love that. For us, it is really just a matter of money. It's not a matter of interest or will. We absolutely would love, the challenge, even with Spanish, that we're going to face, and Lorna, who's doing our interpretation, is probably already getting stressed out about this, is that with 1,000 people, we may ultimately have 10 breakout sessions happening simultaneously. And it's going to be really hard because each session needs to have 2 interpreters, not 1. So that would be 20 Spanish interpreters. That's going to be pretty challenging. So what we're going to likely end up happening is that we'll have just some of the sessions simultaneously interpreted in Spanish. And so I think that what we could probably afford to do, if we can get enough sponsors, is to have some of the sessions simultaneously interpreted in Japanese, in Chinese, in Korean, and that we would make that known in advance, so that people, and they would be more general sessions as opposed to some of the really, really, specific niche ones. Do you think that would work, Mariko?
I think so. Not the old, to the breakout room, the provide interpreters, simultaneous printers is impossible. And I don't think we need it. But to some, the breakout rooms or general, and that'll be great.
And so of Asian languages, Mariko, would you say that the needs are certainly with Japanese and Korean, and Chinese, right?
And Vietnamese.
Okay. All right, helpful. Thank you for that. Well, I'm going to commit to doing that for some of the sessions. We are going to commit to doing that. If you guys know of anybody who wants to be a sponsor, please, we need sponsors, because this is what the money's going to go to. I don't make money on planning this conference because I don't make any money. I'm a volunteer at DVU. The money really goes to paying for this socio platform, which is super expensive, like $16,000. It's not a free thing to have. So we have this very expensive platform, and we have interpreters, and we have, I do have some staff who are working on it, paid staff. So we really are just trying to cover our expenses. We're not seeking to make a big amount of money on this conference. So, all right, I'm going to commit to doing that. And I may reach out to you, Mariko, because maybe to help us even identify some interpreters. So that would be great. Melissa Jones. Go ahead and mute yourself, Melissa. Oh, Melissa, are you not there? Okay, we'll move on to Sandra. Hi, Sandra.
I'm unmuted now, so when you're ready, I can do it.
Okay,
Sorry.
go ahead, Melissa. Go ahead.
Okay, I came up with 3 things.
Okay.
We all know that the majority of families do not receive services even in the traditional format. And Naomi Hagel at one of the LA regional centers printed out something recently that I didn't even know existed. And it broke out the services that you're eligible for by age group. And I know that Harbor Regional has something, and I just learned that Orange County has something in the Family Resource Center.
Mm-hmm.
And, as independent facilitators, we're all having to go in and talk about unmet needs because families didn't even know that these services, they were eligible for those services.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing I came up with.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that was hard for me is a lot of times when people are talking about your PCP, it's talking more about when you have the meeting and you watch a YouTube video and it shows people with beautiful artistic papers all over the wall. But I was having a hard time getting that information into a document with goals.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing. And last but not least, backing up to what Jan was saying about where do I hire these people?
Mm-hmm.
I know there was a guy in Orange County that was starting a karate program. And someone told him to come to the advisory committee. This is when we were still meeting in person. And, he showed up. And obviously that was not the right place for him to be advertising his services. But I think the family resource centers have a lot of things that aren't vendored,
Mm-hmm.
that are recreational opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's swimming or karate or camp, or that parents had to pay for individually because rec wasn't paid for.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's self-determination. So basically the families need to network more with their family resource center and find out if they have a list of like recreational services
Mm-hmm.
that then they could use their self-determination money for.
Mm-hmm. Great ideas. Great idea.
That was my 3 ideas.
The thing that I love, my favorite thing that you said in this is that like some person who teaches karate found out about self-determination and showed up to an advisory committee meeting. That is the model right there where, people say to me, oh, I want to be an independent facilitator. I don't know how to get clients. I'm like, show up to a local advisory committee meeting, or vice versa. I don't know how to find an independent facilitator. Show up to a local advisory committee meeting. I mean, part of the problem, honestly, is that some local advisory committee meetings are very off-putting. Some of them are very, like you're not allowed to speak. You have to be called upon. It's very bureaucratic. Not all of them. The one that I run at Westside Regional Center, everybody can talk all the time. There's no committee versus the community. We're really trying to push all the local committees to function in that way. If regional center staff would let us function that way, we will function that way. So I'm really hoping that you'll be able to, you know, we can dig into that. I love that idea. So somebody had asked in the chat about how to become a sponsor. I will absolutely take the sponsorship. We do, Ed put the link to become a sponsor in the chat. Sponsorships are not cheap, people. They're really for organizations more than they are like an individual. They start at $1,000, $2,500, $5,000, and $10,000. There are different benefits you get depending on your sponsorship level. We are also, for those of you who want to just have like a virtual booth at the expo, like for some of you independent facilitators, it's gonna be a much lower amount of $300 to have the virtual booth for the 3 days. And we haven't sent that out yet because we're trying to get our sponsors in first. And we will get that registration out in the coming weeks, the coming couple weeks. All right, so now speaking of an independent facilitator, Sandra.
Oh, I can't get registered for the conference.
You know, you're the second person today who said that to me. What seems to be the problem, Sandra?
I think I filled in every blank, and then when you click on the go to pay, it's all grayed out and it doesn't go to pay. So
I'm sorry, I think I may know the problem. I hate to interrupt. Sandra, may I ask if you, sorry, this is Ed, I'm the program assistant. This happened to me when I tried to register for the conference. Are you paying through a regional center? Are you planning?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do, because I wanted to register my son for the conference. So
you're using the free one, right?
Yes.
Okay, you just have to make sure you fill out all the things. It's, I know you're not the first person to say that, but I was able to walk through somebody. You know what I could do is, after we get some of these ideas out, I could do a mock registration with all of you. I can share screen.
Perfect.
Okay, make sure you're hitting it. It's a little bit funky that if you don't like answer a question, what I'd really love to have is our conference coordinator, Mackenzie, is not here on this call. So it would be very actually helpful. So let me see when she's going to be back at a computer, and maybe she can be here during that part, maybe do that share.
Yeah, because I'm pretty tech savvy. So if I couldn't figure it out,
yeah,
I'm just concerned for, you know, the average bear.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I also believe somebody needs to start I don't know if employment agency would be the right name for it, but a registry. I mean, like you said, a Yelp, but a registry. So, you know, somebody who is a job coach, somebody who's supported living staff, somebody who wants to independently do ABA, and you know, they fill out their basic information, and then you can go on a website and go, okay, here's my zip code. I need somebody within 20 miles that can do this job. And then here comes the list. And then you can call them and interview them and things like that. Mm-hmm. So that if I had the wherewithal, that would be a business I would start, but I don't. And somebody else. So here's a business idea for somebody, some entrepreneur out there.
Yeah, make it happen. There is one, Ed, what is the name of that one that was started? It's a name after, she named it after her daughter.
I've just popped it in the chat. It's Jenny's Helpers. Yep.
Okay, Jenny's Helpers, but that's like, I mean, you can get a plumber from Jenny's Helpers too.
Oh, really?
No, ma'am. It's only, I think you're thinking of Angie's list.
Oh.
Jenny's Helpers is exclusive to folks who provide services to people with developmental disabilities.
Okay. Well, we just need to get the word out about Jenny's Helpers then.
All right. I just clicked on that great link that Ed put in. It is not specific to the self-determination program, folks. So like she uses the term in vendors and caregivers. And so, you know, I think, oh no, she does have a self-determination little piece. When you click on it, let's see what happens. That's interesting. Self-determination matters. What is self-determination? She has like a few little things. Find a service. Search now. All right. I think she's trying to do this. I mean, I wish she would use the term vendor, because there are no vendor. You don't have to use a vendor in the self-determination programs. If somebody knows this wonderful mom who created it, maybe you could work with her too, because it already exists. It's actually a website that already exists.
I'm actually on it, but I didn't really focus.
Yeah. So she has this large list and anybody, yeah. So maybe, I'm seeing Sandra's on there. Look at that. GT Independence is on there. So I'm not sure how it all works, but folks, there's very few vendors on there. So let's piggyback on something that they have done and make it work. All right, that's great. Jan, yay, Jan's spending plan changes were approved only 6 months later. That was easy. Okay, Mari, you're next.
Yes, hi, Judy. I have different ideas, so maybe a feedback, for everybody, but especially for the Hispanic community. Maybe to create something, a handout or something with the acronyms, like FMS, what FMS, most of the families, they get confused they don't even know what that means.
Right.
Elizabeth, I love Elizabeth because, she was like, FMS like the bank, people get it right away. FMS is kind of like the bank, they have the money, So something like that people better understand what that means. What is like IF? Some people got confused with those PCP, things that, most people are familiar nowadays with the self-determination, but there's a lot more people who have no idea what that's supposed to mean. So just an idea. Also, I requested to put something out there like templates for families. I find out myself sometimes talking to other families. They wanted to practice. They wanted to better understand how to start the process because it's very confusing. And some of the families get very discouraged by regional centers. Like, your budget is really small. I don't think this is for you. So they get very discouraged. So I was requesting a long time ago, some kind of template for people to, when they see it, they have a better idea that it's possible. So maybe like a template or something that can be passed on or mailed to families. I don't know, something on, like that. That would be great. And you mentioned yesterday on the self-determination, what's self-determination meeting yesterday? I forgot. So many meetings.
At the ICC meeting?
No, yesterday with
the local advisory committee.
The local advisory, thank you. I've been so many meetings. I get confused. Yes. You mentioned also, something that very few people, not even myself, I was aware of it or something that you make me think about last night when you mentioned like, when you're creating your budget and I'm just saying maybe something that can be mentioned on the conference, like, to put some of the budget for emergencies. Because we don't even think about that, right? So allocate some kind of funds for that. So, something that no one probably has or very few people have that in mind. So to me, just that when you mentioned that you put it in your budget and your plan, that was like, red flag for me, right? Like, oh my God.
Oops, you just went blank. Mari.
In the conference somehow. And the last thing I want to mention is, I know that you mentioned early into the meeting today that GT Independence was sponsoring some families who
sponsoring the conference. Yeah.
Right, but I don't know, that's sponsoring some families who are not either being paid by regional centers, so those who belong to regional centers, something those lines. So I was thinking, I'm going to enroll my son and my husband, who's working from home, and myself. But I was thinking, how my sister-in-law, who I trying to get so involved now because with COVID, who knows what is going to happen? When are you going to die? So I'm thinking maybe if I invite, like my sister-in-law who's so involved with D'Angelo, my son, but if she can be, I don't know, I don't think she's going to be able to be at regional center, but she can be sponsored.
Yes, so family members and self-advocates who are unable to get support from the regional center or from the self-determination program can kind of send us an email to get a scholarship. Not a problem.
Okay. Yeah. So then I have to send it to DVU, or who did I need to send it to?
Yeah, so send it to info@dvunited.org.
Info, okay.
It's not going to be a problem.
Okay, and just the,
that's also the reason why we're getting sponsors.
okay, wonderful, thank you. And just, you know, yesterday I mentioned to you that I was having the same issue, the other lady who spoke before me about registering. So I don't know, you were able to see, my registration went through. I have to do it again because I filled everything up. And when I was ready to click go, you know, just to register, it kicked me out like 2 times, but I wasn't sure. It kicked me out because I was registered. I went through the whole steps, or I don't know. You know, I haven't received any confirmation either. So.
Yeah. Okay. Unfortunately, Mackenzie's not going to be able to come here at full disclosure. She also works with my son part-time, and my son she's out with him, and she tried to convince him to come home before dinner so that she could talk to you all. And my son said no. So he is self-determined.
That's wonderful.
He is her boss during this time. She works for you in the mornings and she works for Josh in the afternoons. And he said no. And so there you go. He's her boss.
They know who the boss is, right?
I know. But you know what? I can certainly go through the registration with everybody and see if there's any glitches. Okay. And if not, we will make sure. Certainly, we can enroll people as well.
Okay, that's wonderful. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Sunny. Hi, Sunny.
Hello. Nice to see everyone here today. I have a list, so I'm just gonna go for it if that's okay, Judy.
Great.
Okay, and some of these might have been said, so I apologize. But transitioning to year 2. So this is starting to happen, and we're learning a lot, lots of things to know. So transitioning to year 2 and how to prepare for that and go about that process. And, you know, and then beyond, but most people are going to be looking at year 2 coming up. I think this one was said, but changing your spending plan, but monitoring your spending. So how do you read these different reports you get from each month and track your spending and make sure you're on track? I think someone said already a mock PCP. I think people love to see that, but also what about the live creation of a spending plan? I think that's something that people would really benefit from watching. Like, okay, well, now that you have a budget, how do you go about making a spending plan? Having a career as an independent facilitator, just like an info session about what it's like as a career, maybe a panel or something like that. And then my last idea was a session for people who have 24/7 staffing needs and how that can be structured and managed through self-determination, particularly if you're moving away from an agency-based model. That's all.
Great. Oh, those are all fantastic ideas. Sunny, I'm going to make you lead all of them.
I have a baby with me, but
the good thing is you don't have to actually go anywhere. Like the baby could just be in your lap as you're leading it.
Exactly.
Wait, when is your due date?
April 3rd.
Oh, gee. So you cannot be delayed. You cannot be late.
Exactly.
We have
Exactly.
the baby in the middle of our thing. Oh, you're going to be so tired. Oh, you're going to be so tired. I don't know if you'll be able to do much of that.
I know. Well, there's a lot of great people on this call who could do it.
Okay, good. All right, we'll figure out how we can bring you in and have a backup plan. Carla.
Hi, sorry, I thought about other things.
Okay.
How to write an effective PCP report to help get needed services. And also even like a basic for people that want to be an independent facilitator, how to write a report, because there are a lot of classes on like how to like do the PCP, but then what do you do after? What do you do with all that information? How do you put it in a report to give to the regional center? I remember I was a part that was hard for me when I started.
Yeah, and the problem is there may be 21 different ways to write the report. I've said this before on this call that my son had Sally Burton Hoyle, one of the greatest person-centered planners in the world. She's been doing them for 30 years, thousands and thousands of plans. She did my son's person-centered plan in 2019. And that was the second time she'd done one. And her plan is literally a typed page like this with a list of things on it. That's it. Nothing fancy, no charts, no photos. It's just a plan of very specific goals and who the hell is in charge of who's the hell in charge of figuring out how to implement it. You don't have to have the person actually doing it. But it's like, want to go to Disneyland more. That was one of my son's goals. That may not be a goal that a regional center gives a crap about, but that is the top priority of my son.
Yeah.
He doesn't want a job. He doesn't want to have better social skills. He doesn't want to have lower behaviors. Those are not PCP goals. Those are maybe the goals that they want him to have. His goals are, I want to go to Disneyland all the time. I want to eat McDonald's all the time. I mean, these are not the best goals, but this is what came out of them. And so we're like, okay, well, clearly he's not going to eat McDonald's all the time, but how do we get it so that he can't eat McDonald's every once in a while? So that includes exercise and a diet, a nutritionist. So this is the way, so the goals don't have to be these kinds of things, like 8 out of 10 times he's going to say hi when somebody walks in the door. Like that is not a PCP goal. That is an IEP goal. And PCP goals are strength-based and interest-based. So part of the issue is that we need to educate regional centers of what a PCP goal is versus what an IPP goal is. And that we were not one and the same.
Like we were in a meeting with one of my clients for 4 hours because they wanted to do SMART goals for 3 things. So 4 hours and plans and barriers, I don't know, like a whole thing. So the PCP was like you said, because actually, yeah, like what I did was I talked to Sally and she was so nice and she sent me her template. So that was how I was like, okay, but I guess people are in the beginning are like, I don't even know what to do, like where to start.
Yeah.
So even something simple, like, but kind of get ideas. I don't know. I feel that would be helpful for some people.
Yeah.
Or even, sorry, can I just jump in? Or even just like a bunch of examples of different ways that it can look. That would be really helpful too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be sure to include my simple example. Yeah, I've also said this on this call before too. So when my son had his very first person-centered plan done, he was 15. He's now 24. He just turned 24 last weekend. And that was his first person-centered plan. It had nothing to do with the self-determination program. We just wanted him to have a plan. And it was a beautiful plan. It was an agency did it. We paid $2,500 out of our own pocket to have this beautiful plan. They made a Disneyland map because my son loves Disneyland. It had Tomorrowland, Adventureland, Fantasyland. It had all the lands. It was so beautiful. It had all his goals put on the lands. And do you know how many of those goals ever got implemented? Zero. Because a person-centered plan has to have an implementation part of it. It can't just be about making something beautiful. So, while the regional centers may think, well, they obviously are doing a very good job as a PCP, person-centered planner or as an IF, because they are, made it beautiful. Beauty means nothing. It is about how is this going to get accomplished? Like if I know we have some regional center folks on here. The questions that I would be asking when I see a person-centered plan is, wow, this is only a page versus 20 pages. I want to see, okay, goal number 1 is going to Disneyland. So how are you going to implement that? And obviously, what are the indications around that? Like, can we look at the IPP goals, which is socialization? So maybe he could go to Disneyland with a friend, and that's a good way to socialize. If one of his goals is that he likes to volunteer at the library, okay, can we get some goals about reading in there and get some goals about, following directions, work prep goals. So it's like you can get IPP goals out of person-centered planning goals, but they're not the same thing. And beautiful doesn't matter as long, if you don't have somebody who's actually going to get stuff done. And it can't always fall on the parents. Part of the reason why none of my son's goals when he was 15 got done is because every single one of them was on me to do. And that's just not possible. So, I'm not the super mom, and nobody should have to be a super mom. That's why self-determination is so great, because you can hire someone like an independent facilitator to identify those opportunities in the community to meet your goals. All right.
I have a few
Go ahead,
more.
Carl. You have more. Excellent.
Okay, yes. A class on how to study the self-determination law in detail. I think that would be good. At least I would.
Oh, I love that one, but I don't know if everybody's like a geek like me, but go ahead.
Well, I would be there, so I'm a geek too. And ideas on how to think outside the box in times of COVID, like what to do. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know, like I don't want to get in self-determination because what can I do? And there's so many things, like you said yesterday, so many things you can do. But people are so focused on like traditional services or things you were doing before COVID. So those were some of the things. I thought about something else, but now I forgot.
Yeah,
oh yes, generic resources, like how to access a lot of the generic resources, like I don't know, DOR, IHSS, like I think that would be a good one too.
Great, awesome.
That's it.
Thank you. So Dustlin, can you tell me how to pronounce? You come on a lot of these.
Yeah, no, you got it right, Dustlin.
Yay!
Yes, well done. First, before I kind of share something that's going through my mind, I just really appreciate what you said about the person-centered plan writing and kind of creating those action steps to make Disneyland happen. I think that is such an important part of it. So thank you for reinforcing that.
Great.
Something that I was thinking of as I'm listening to everybody, and they've come up with all the really great ideas that have crossed my mind, but the one thing that I think would be helpful is to consider a rural approach, those remote communities, because it feels like when we go to conferences sometimes what applies for an urban area or a place with more services and supports doesn't really translate well over to rural planning. So that would be something to consider and be cool to offer, kind of a rural approach.
I love it. Brilliant. Are you volunteering to be on that panel?
Yes.
Where are you, Dustlin?
So technically I'm over at Bishop, California. So Rick Wood and he's in Mammoth, I'm in Bishop, right?
Uh-huh.
I work in Mono County. So we're pretty remote. I think Mammoth or Mono County has 13,000 and some change total population.
Wow.
Yeah, and Bishop is, Inyo County is a little better, but not too far behind. So.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Rick is an obvious one for this one because that's great. Fantastic. Wonderful.
So I'd be glad to sit on that panel and even brainstorm with Rick. So happy to do that.
Fantastic. You're in. Talene.
Hello. One of the things that I'm finding, and it's like my clients are of two different mindsets. So you've got these clients who have had SDP on their mind for years and they're excited and they've done their research and they come to these person-centered planning meetings with this army and everybody's like has this vigor of what they're going to be doing. And then you have the people who get the idea, they get the concept, but they don't know how to relay it back to their family and friends. So grandma might be there, maybe a teacher is there. And so you don't get as much of the follow through people available to help mom, and everything's on mom's plate, as you were just saying. So I think it would be nice if we can find a way to empower, especially for those that are in, like you said, the entry, the new people, to empower them on how to ask for family and friends to be part of this program or be part of the process of the person-centered plan without feeling like they're burdening the person. That it should be a collaborative and inclusive environment and not feel like they are burdening anyone by inviting them to this great event. So that's one thing I'm finding. And the other thing would be great, and this is kind of on the coattails of what everybody else was saying about how to start a business. What about showcasing clients who have started their own businesses within self-determination? Yeah. I mean, then we can get, our clients to be able to be the presenters, and I think that
Yeah.
would be fun to watch.
Putting your name next to that one. Awesome. And I know I'm actually going to put Sandra's name next to that because I feel like Sandra's been involved in some of that as well.
And my son is Sandra's son's client. So.
Okay. There you go. That's it. I love it. Elizabeth Cuevas, you have another idea?
I was wondering if we could reach out to different companies and local small businesses that would like to start working with our community to be sponsors. And then one day in the future, when we have conferences, there's tables everywhere of all possible, things that we can put on our spending plan. Like for instance, a lot of clients I've noticed, I only have 2 clients so far, but still, I noticed everybody wants a gym membership. Let's get 24-hour fitness to sponsor, give us explain to them what's going on and how a lot of the adult clients are going to be getting memberships, or even Disneyland. That's something almost on everybody's spending list, like get them to sponsor. I don't know. Even construct a construction crew of sorts. Like it's so hard to find the person that's going to build like the adult swing that I need for my child. Like these are all, these people will be willing to invest and come because this is future revenue for them, future clients. So reaching out to those people right now to start participating, understanding what our needs, what the current wants of our clients, of our community is, so that they can start sponsoring and possibly coming and being someone that a possible service, right, in the future.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean, a nutritionist, I've just seen that on a lot of lists. Yoga instructors. I've been seeing a lot of people purchase those kinds of things. Christina.
Hi, Judy. One thought too is for people who have healthcare or nursing. My understanding is that if you're in the HCBA waiver, you'd stay in that waiver, but you'd be in the SDP program. And then I know only certain FMSs are allowing, are dealing with the nursing situation when you have nurses switching over to SDP. Mm-hmm. So maybe they could share resources of like the FMSs that are doing that, how to do that. If there's anything we need to be doing ahead of time to know anything different that we need to be doing if we do, if the consumers do receive nursing services or they have medical issues.
So that's what you ended up hearing, is that they don't actually go into the SDP waiver?
Correct, that they're actually in the SDP program, but they stay on the HCBA waiver because you can only be on one waiver at a time.
Right.
So that's
because I think it's actually a very smart thing financially for the state, because the reimbursement rates from the federal government on the HCBA waiver are higher than the SDP waiver, which is really about 50 cents on the dollar. So
they also offer WPCS, which is waiver personal care service, which is similar to personal assistance, but that's under the waiver. So does that stay under the waiver, or do those dollars go into SDP? It's a little confusing as to how that all gets worked out. So it's not just the nursing service, like the nursing level care, but it's skilled level care, but it's also the non-licensed care too.
The client I had, their regional center left them on the HCBA waiver, but they did not put them on the HCBS waiver for the self-determination program. The regional center itself just funded it, but it's self-determination because you can't be on 2 waivers at one time. But they still can do self-determination. It just comes out of the regional center's pot of money instead of the HCBS pot of money.
So then are they reimbursed by DDS then? I mean, like, how does...
everything the regional center spends is reimbursed by DDS, but that means it's out of the state fund and it's not federally reimbursed. Okay, so I'm seeing in the chat that people are unable to choose their country. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now, since nobody else's hand is up, is I'm going to see how bad. It's weird because I'm texting with Mackenzie, who's at dinner with my son, and she's saying you shouldn't have to choose a country. But I did when I registered, I had to choose a country, so I'm not really sure what that is. So I'm going to first go to the link.
I have it pulled up, Judy, if you'd like me to share screen. And
yeah, and then you can fill it out.
Certainly. I actually have it all filled out right now. I'll refresh so we can do it together. So I'm going to share screen real quick. Everyone, please forgive. I always have a little bit of difficulty choosing the screen. There we go. So this is our registration page. I'm going to click what I suspect many of you are going to be using, which is the Self-Advocates and Family Members Build a FMS, a Regional Center. I'm going to click 1, register. So I'm just going to fill this out as though I was going to the conference. Ian.
Oh no, use
my DVU.
We're not seeing your personal email address.
It's fine. I only use it for signing up for HelloFresh. Ed Herzl at bvunited.org. Would you like to receive a conference t-shirt? No. Even though I've already said that, I still have to select I do not want a shirt on this dropdown. Would you like to receive Thinking Outside the Box? I already have a copy, so I'm going to click no. What is your shipping address? I'm just going to put 123 Sesame Street, Pen Grove, California. I don't have a
Go back. This is where people are getting messed up. So did you see how when she just put 123 Sesame Street, it automatically dropped down with options? So you need to choose one of those options, everybody. That is where I think people are getting messed up. You don't just keep typing your address. You have to pre-populate it so they find it on Google Maps. And then it automatically pre-populates USA. All right.
But Judy, one issue I'm seeing here is that even if you say, no, I do not want a t-shirt and no, I do not need the book, you still have to put in a shipping address? That might be the issue.
No, it doesn't have a red star, so you don't have to put it in. Keep going and see if you can register without putting in an address.
Okay. And then, so you have to put your regional center billing here. It won't let you register if you don't. So I'm just going to put fill their information.
Good.
And then you have to make sure you're clicking I accept Socio's terms of service and privacy policy, and then this button will turn orange. Only then.
Okay, so it seems to be working for folks. I have a feel. No, so now I have a feeling where people got messed up is in their shipping address, that you need to let it pre-populate. So that is maybe some sort of instruction we're going to have to provide people.
And it looks like, and I don't have the shipping address filled out right now. So if you don't want a copy of Thinking Outside the Box, you already have it, and you don't want a t-shirt and that's giving you trouble filling out your shipping address, you can just leave it if you don't want those two objects mailed to you.
All right. So we may have to, we promise we'll fix that. This is not our thing. This is the Socio's registration thing. So that's good. So maybe we could try if somebody who was saying they were having problems. Sandra, do you want to try to go in? I really want to try to solve this before we get off this call to see if it'll work for you.
Yeah, I'm actually on it right now. So let me finish filling in the blanks. And I had to look up the service coordinator's phone number. I should have it memorized. We've talked so much recently.
Yeah. And we can, what Mackenzie said is that she's happy to walk people through it if they're having problems. It shouldn't be this hard though, actually.
Yeah, if we have to put the address in it, there should be a note that says that we need to put the address in.
Populating your address once you start typing stuff in?
No.
It's not finding your address?
Oh no, I'm putting it in, and
does it then fill it out for you?
I don't know. I already did it.
So that's the thing. If you actually put it all in, that may be the issue, because then it's not finding. I don't know. I was able to do it even though I put it all in myself. So I don't know if anybody else is trying and having any problems, but oh, I see. Yeah, I see what's happening here. Let's see, 6380. No, that's the wrong address.
I think part of the confusing thing too is that there's just a random box to put the service coordinator's information in. There's not a name, email, phone number. All right, now it worked. Oh, invalid registration.
All right, so it's,
Wait,
okay.
actually it didn't. It didn't.
No?
Provided registration token is expired or does not exist. OMG, I have to start all over.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know what that
It took too long.
Oh, you just took too long. Okay, okay.
All right. I'll report back if it doesn't work.
All right, sounds perfect. Okay, anybody else have any issues with it? Yeah, I'm able to place my order. I just did it and it worked. Okay. All right, so we're gonna add, does anybody have any questions just generally about the self-determination program not related to our conference that anybody wants to talk about? While we're here, if you're having any problems. Oh, Tommy's asking, should each person register separately? If each person wants their own unique identification and login, yes, you should register separately. So if each person wants to get their own book and their own t-shirt, if each person wants to have access from independent computers, you should register. What's different between this conference and an in-person conference is that every person had to have a registration in person because you're eating a meal, you're taking a seat. If you and your husband are going to be not on at the same time or going to be looking at it sitting next to each other, you could probably just go under one registration. If you want to give us more money so that we can help pay for scholarships for other people and get your regional center to do it to get 2 separate registrations, or you want 2 separate t-shirts and 2 separate books, you should register both. But honestly, if it's going to be like, yeah, my husband's only going to come in for like 2 hours of one thing and he can sit next to me for that session, yeah, it's fine. I shouldn't be turning away money, but it's fine. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Judy. Hey, I'm sorry if you already said this. I was having really bad internet connection, and I don't know if you already mentioned this, but I'm wondering if when people are registering, if there is a question that asks them if they are already part of this self-determination lottery winners. And the reason for that is that I think that it would be great if you would be able to capture a group of people, and then maybe a question and answer session that could give us some indication as to what is holding people up, and really communicate with the people that you that will attend that are already part of the lottery winners, and find out what's holding the process for them.
So these are people who are selected for the first 2,500 and they've been unable to go in for various reasons.
And during your conference, you could actually capture a lot of them and create like a Q&A session. And then, because a lot of times you hear from regional centers that they can't give you the names and that they can't tell you who they are, but attending the conference is going to be a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That was just an idea. I don't know if it's possible, but I thought that was an idea.
Great idea. I'm like thinking of special sessions that just for the people who've gotten in for the phase-in but have yet to transition, because they can go in before June. So that's a great idea. So somebody had asked in the chat, like, you're having a problem on the mask, Carl. I'm inquiring from Mackenzie, who's being really wonderful to be texting me right now. So can I just ask a question, Carl? Which ticket did you order? Are you using one of the free tickets, or one of the tickets that are going to be paid for by an FMS or a whatchamacallit, the tradition, the vendors regional center stuff? Because so that's going to be an issue. So if you are going in where you're not paying, it's going to be paid by an FMS, and then you want to buy like we also give you the opportunity to buy a mask or a cup or a book or whatever. You are going to have two separate tickets that you're going to have to fill out, because one is going to be that for our information to be billed to the regional centers or the FMSs, and the other is going to be where we're going to be needing a credit card from you to purchase those items. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to have to fill out two tickets. Okay, Christina?
I just wanted to share, so I had a meeting with regional North Los Angeles Regional Center about trying to get them to pay for the PCPs prior to June, of having people who are on the waiting list. And unfortunately, they said they can't do that. They spoke apparently to Jim Knight, and he said that technically they can't because it would come out of the operating budget, and there isn't funds for consumers who are still in the traditional program for that. So if anybody knows, even though they know that some other regional centers are doing that, if anybody knows of any other way to try to make that happen ahead of time, I think it would just be super beneficial for us to get started early on.
Yes, so that is a big point of advocacy for us right now, because DDS has not yet determined whether they're going to allow the 024 service code to continue. Which is obviously going to be problematic for a lot of people who have been providing those services. And it's not like we just thought of this, by the way. I've been asking this question for 3 years. And to me, it's a lawsuit like waiting to happen. Like, you cannot treat the 2,500 people who are in differently than the people who go in later. Like, you can't do that. There are no special service codes for a specific group of people. I mean, by the way, if this were written into the self-determination law, then you could do it. But it wasn't. We never anticipated this problem of people not being able to pay for person-centered plans before they get into the program. Like, that was our fault. That's on us to not have anticipated this problem. But DDS themselves came up with this great solution, which is, all right, there's a service code to do it. And now you can't say there's a service code just for 2,500 people. That service code's going away. So we continue our advocacy. We need them to come out with a directive really soon on that.
Okay, I also want to, I just want to make sure you're aware. I was a little surprised, to be honest. So there are current traditional service providers that are now being vendored to provide PCPs.
Yes, and some of them are actually FMSs.
These are not FMSs. This was a service provider that actually is like I think it's an SLS or day program provider.
And there are others that are FMSs that are going to be providing the full gamut of services, from person-centered planning to spending plan development to FMS.
Okay, so if they're vendored, then we can use them ahead of time. Is that correct?
It really depends on the regional center. This is a really big problem. It's hard because I have so much going on with this vaccine stuff, but this problem keeps rising, and it makes my head want to explode.
I also feel, there's a lot of independent facilitators that have worked very hard and they're not vendored, and it's tricky because I don't know how easy it is for them to get vendored, and I don't know if there has to be an RFP that's put out. I don't know I just want to make it even the playing field to make sure that we have access to all different types of independent facilitators, and that the PCP is the most important. It's very important. And the IPP, even though they say it's based off of PCP, it's not. It's very different. And the PCP needs to be done for the HCBS, the CMS final rule coming up. They're pushing PCPs, but people don't realize that PCPs for self-determination are very different than other PCPs. And it's such an important component. I almost think you could have one whole like 2-hour thing on PCPs at the conference that would actually help even regional center staff as well, all different entities of what a quality PCP looks like. So
Judy, one of the reasons they had independent facilitators is so regional center wouldn't be overwhelmed with the 2,500 people going into the program. So they think that's going to keep them from being overwhelmed when people have trickled in. Wait till June when the floodgate is open. That's going to be overwhelmed. And so, by the way, when is the statewide advisory committee meeting?
Oh yeah, yes. In our last 4 minutes, I do have a couple of things I want to bring up. The statewide self-determination advisory committee is open to the public. It is, I believe, a week from today. Hold on, let me look. It is a week from yesterday. It is the 16th of February from 10 a.m. until 2:30 p.m. You can get information on it on the state council website, which is ssdac. Hold on, it's SSCD. State council, no, scdd.ca.gov. I'll try to find the link for it.
I've got it, Judy, no worries.
Thank you, dear. Okay, yeah, so it's February 16th and there's the agenda and the packet is on there. Please join in. It's a critical committee. The second thing is I got asked a question in the chat regarding the status of FMS fees. There's actually been an update on that. That's really important, and sorry, we're gonna have to end soon, but I wanna get everybody should note this. DDS issued a directive that was very, very important last week. I'm sorry I didn't say this earlier and we're about to end. The DDS issued a directive which basically even expands the ability to put the FMS fees back into your budget. So before it said that the FMS fees had to be related to COVID, it no longer has to be related to COVID. The difference is so during the COVID emergency, you can say, I would like my FMS fees to be transferred to be repurposed is the word they're using. Repurposed to be used for just other services in the spending plan by month. It's unfortunately it's renewed month by month, but you can pretty much guarantee it's going to get removed until the state of emergency is gone. And I think that we'll be in the state of emergency at least till the summer. And so you can repurpose it for anything you want, literally anything you want, including new things that you're putting into your spending plan. It's only like $150 a month, but it can be helpful. What the new directive said, though, is that if you're repurposing it for something related to COVID, that actually will increase your overall budget. So instead, before repurposing just moved the money to another thing, so your overall budget amount stayed the same, this will actually increase your overall budget by $150 a month. So that's pretty dang cool. And I can get into that more in our next meeting. And I'm sorry that I forgot. I have too much on my head right now. So I'm going to give you the last word today.
Oh gosh, sorry. I had raised my hand just to say, I've said this before. Well, two things. One is, how can we help you, Judy, with the advocacy regarding the funding and like for PCP in this issue? There's now all these independent facilitators across the state. There's an independent facilitator network. There's all these people on the waiting list. Like, we can help you, but you're like our leader. We need direction on what we can do to advocate on this issue. But I want to just throw out there that like what I'm seeing happening, and I'm getting like multiple inquiries a week. People want the services now, and people who can pay privately are trying to pay privately. And I have some regional centers telling families you have to pay privately if you want this service.
Okay.
I have it in writing from your regional center.
Yeah.
Actually. So
really
it's happening.
Important thing.
The disparity, like
a really important way to advocate right now is to show up at the statewide self-determination advisory committee meeting next week. There is a time for for public comment. It is a very, very formal meeting. In real life, it's even more formal and ridiculous. It's kind of like a congressional hearing. But there will be public comment. And if every single one of you show up, whether you're an FMS, not an FMS, an IF, or a future participant, and say the same thing, DDS is going to be at this meeting. And if they hear this over and over and over again, I promise you it will be heard up there. It will be heard up there. So that is a great way to advocate. I mean, obviously, a sign-on letter or individual letters to DDS really helps. I believe the best kind of advocacy that we have is to call our elected officials. So call your local, everybody should know who their state assembly member and their state senator are. They're in charge of DDS. They provide oversight of DDS. There's a hearing next week, everybody. The budget committee that funds DDS is having a hearing on the 17th, the day after, from 2:30 p.m. on until they finish. Unfortunately, they're not talking about the self-determination program this time. They're having two panels, one about COVID and the other one about service provider rates, which obviously you could, but they're going to have public comment too. So it's open to the public, and the public comment is real. And we're not going to have SDP Connect next week because it's the same exact time as this. But public comment should be, you're not talking about the self-determination program, but let me tell you some concerns I have. So the way, let me see before we leave, because I do need to let our interpreter go. But I will try to find, as we're getting off the agenda, you are able to watch it online. They probably don't have the link yet to watch it online, but assembly, budget, it's called sub 1. I know these are technical terms for y'all. But it is a very, very, it's a very formal process. They're having 2 panels. Elizabeth Gomez is testifying on the first panel, and Elizabeth doesn't even know this, but I wiggled my way in to testify on the second panel. Nina doesn't know that either. And so it's going to be, it's not going to be about self-determination, unfortunately. But I'm not seeing, the agenda hasn't actually even been listed yet, because they usually list it at the very last minute. So I will try to get it on I'll get it out on the DVU Facebook page, everybody. So make sure you follow us on Facebook or on Twitter. Or actually we could even put it out on one of our constant contact emails to let everybody know the links. Remind me of that, Ed. So the date, just for people to know, is Tuesday from 10 a.m., Tuesday the 16th from 10 a.m. to 2:30 is the Statewide Self-Determination Advisory Committee. That's the chairs of the 21 regional centers. And then on Wednesday the 17th, starting at 2:30 p.m. is the State Assembly Budget Subcommittee on Department of Developmental Services and other issues that they fund. All right, so I want to thank everybody. This was so unbelievably helpful to me. You guys have basically created the whole conference for me. I really, really appreciate you all. And we will stay on. I'm formally letting Lorna go because she must be exhausted. But if people want to stay on and just ask any final questions in English, I'm happy to do that. And I'll try to get you some things in the chat as well. So thank you, Lorna. You're off duty now. You're wonderful. So Carolyn, did you want to say something else?
I just had a question about hearing that the FMSs are going to be part of making plans and budgets. Is that what I heard correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Is that not a conflict of interest?
Well, it's a conversation that I've been having with one of them, and how that's going to happen, and how people need, according to the statute, you have to have a choice of FMSs. So, you know, they're also applying for some of the federal participation funds at regional centers, including yours, I think, Carolyn.
Okay.
So, I think what needs to happen is, so I want to be clear that I am not opposed to FMSs doing this.
Okay.
The more people who are out there trying to move people into the discrimination program is a good thing. So I want to make that clear. I also want to make it clear that we have to have big, giant conflict of interest dividing lines.
Yeah.
That just if you have made a decision to use an FMS to help pull you into the self-determination program, there has to be a very clear message to that participant that they have multiple choices of FMSs, or maybe even have a restriction that they can't use the FMSs helping with those other services. I'm not sure, but it is more than one FMS that is moving for this.
Okay.
Just one. So it's actually going to be quite a thing to tackle. But my feeling is, starting in June, it's all hands on deck. All hands on deck.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you.
That I trained 90 people. I was part of a training program for 90 people that DVU did. DVU did with the Autism Society of LA over the weekend. We had 90 people show up, or 90 people online. And I asked a question at the beginning of the meeting: how many of you are going to become independent facilitators? And like maybe 20 said yes. Most of the people on this call were trying to get information for their own child, which shows you, oh my God, how hard it is for them to get information for their own children. But it also means we have a giant shortage of independent facilitators around the state.
Okay, thank you so much for that.
Yeah. Lourdes Gomez, did you have another question?
No, I'm sorry. It just with my phone. I got.
Okay,
sorry,
no
but
worries.
thank you.
No worries. All right, everybody, you will not see us next week because the assembly budget hearing is on, but we're going to try to get an email out for folks to tell them how to get onto these programs, these different meetings. There's also we're also hosting, by the way, on Saturday, the 20th, you're going to get an email about it tomorrow, a forum on supported decision-making, which is instead of conserving your adult children, it's a way to ensure that they are kept protected, but without having the courts involved in their lives. And we're going to do a forum on that on the morning of the 20th. And the next time we'll probably have an SDP Connect is the 24th. And it is not one you want to miss. It is going to be a doozy, because I already know I'll give you a little hint. Disability Voices United is introducing legislation that is going to help make the self-determination program successful. And Nina Spiegelman and I will be making a presentation on it. And I'm hoping we can get a lot of your support. So we're not ready for prime time yet, which is why we're not giving it to you yet. But 2 weeks, we have to come up with a PowerPoint, Nina. Put it on your calendar. I'm looking at your face. Mari, did you have a question?
Yes, Judy, I do. I'm trying to register, but I have a question second, because I registered with, families pay $50. Is that correct?
Yes, or you can use the first option, which is the regional center pays for it.
I figured out why mine wasn't working. I was doing the free option and trying to buy one of the books. And so now I have to, after listening to everybody, I did 2 different transactions, and that worked.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so I'm confused. So if I decide that I say yes to the shirt and yes to the book, I mean I have to do 2 different transactions or 2 different. Okay. So then you suggest me to just go straight to the free So I don't, because when I go to the one that's a 50 per family, it takes me to the pay, you know, and I have to input my card.
Yeah, because what you're doing is you're paying just for the book.
Okay, so if I say no to the book and then I request it later, you think it would be easy for me to register?
Yeah, okay, we're gonna fix this. We're gonna fix this tonight. So
Okay.
go ahead and register tomorrow. She's gonna be home soon, and we're gonna fix this so that.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you, Judy.
This is silly the way the system is making us do it this way. So we'll figure it out. We promise. All right, everybody. Thank you all. I'm gonna go away from a screen because I've been on the screen for a very long time today. And I'm going to go make dinner for my family. So everybody, thank you so much. Take care, and we will see you in 2 weeks or maybe next week. Bye. Bye all.